Right, guys. So I guess today's today. Possibly, maybe, perhaps. Do we find out today what the truth is about what's going on at the club? Because I'll be honest with you, the silence is absolutely deafening at this moment in time. The board have got a decision to make, and they've got to make it sooner rather than later. For me, they've got to come out today and say whether they back or they want to sack. It's simple as that. There is no other choice. There is no other way forward. And I'll be honest, if they're going to sack him, then they've done it wrong because they've left it too late. Realistically, if you're going to sack a manager during the international break, you want to bring in his successor with sort of that couple of weeks to give him time. But who knows? Who knows? I suppose it could all come down to if you are going to sack your manager, you need to obviously negotiate for someone to come in and replace him. And the talk is that if Beale goes, his entire coaching staff goes. So that's the case. The fact that that's the case, you do need someone to take first team training. So what's the situation there? So it's a crazy situation we find ourselves in, and hopefully today we'll get an answer to all these issues. But if Michael Beale does survive, towards and is there for the St Johnstone game on Saturday, then questions need to be asked. The first question Michael Beale does need to be asked in his press conference is to respond to what the board have said. Now, I know that there's more than Bennett and Bisgrove on the board. I know there's like Hatfield and others, Park and so on. But there needs to be a genuine question asked of what Michael Beale needs to basically explain his comments. Now, post Celtic game, Michael Beale stated that the transfer values that were apportioned to certain players and the spend by Rangers over the summer was a break-even spend. There was no net spend. And the transfer fees that were being quoted in the media were vastly overinflated. So he comes out and says that. A few days later, the board kind of through the media released their side of it, where they show there's a 6 million net spend. Obviously take into account the free agents, the sign-on fees, etc. From that, kind of in a way, putting Michael Beale in a position. Beale has said one thing, and the board have come out and said the exact opposite of what he said. So who's right? Who's wrong? Who's going to look foolish? Who isn't? I really do hope that somebody in the media, whether that be Andy Newport or a Stevie Clifford or a David Edgar, or someone has got the nerve to actually ask Beale, Michael, who's telling the truth? You or the board? The board have said one thing, you've said another. Which is the truth? Personally, I know who I believe. I'm sure you've all got your suspicions as to who you believe. Personally, my personal opinion, if you want my personal opinion on this matter, I believe the board. I believe the likes of John Bennett, James Bisgrove. I believe those guys far more than I believe what Michael Beale says. Why? Because Michael Beale's got a bit of a reputation, hasn't he, of saying one thing and then a week later or 2 days later or 24 hours later saying the exact opposite and contradicting himself. So personally, I think that for me, he's in a position where the board have kind of washed their hands of him and said, look, if this is all goes the wrong way, if this goes, it goes to a situation where it gets worse, then it's not us, it's him. We've backed him, we've given him the money, we've given him the funds, we've supported him, we've given him whatever he wanted, and it's him that's messed up. Very clever by the board, very much, washing their hands of the situation, just saying, look, this is Michael Beale's team. These are Michael Beale's players. We've given him the money that he wanted. We've given him what he asked for. There we go. There's the figures. We've showed you the figures. We've shown you the 6 million net spend, even with the money from Kamara and Sakala and Cholak coming into the club. And there's still a net spend there. So, look, Michael Beale's in a difficult position, and he's put himself in this position as well. And I think, he's put himself in this position not just over these transfer fees and the fact that he said one thing and the board have said the opposite, but also over his ineptitude, his lack of tactics, his lack of vision, his lack of style. And just, I think, people have said, oh, well, Ange Postecoglou started off like this, of 6 to 8 points, wherever it was he was behind. Yeah, but Postecoglou's team, you could see what he was trying to do. You could see his shape. You could see his vision. You could see his style that he wanted to play with. Michael Beale doesn't have a style, doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a set of tactics, and seems to have bought a lot of very similar players to kind of do a similar job. And perhaps the answer to why they're not all playing is because of the fact that they're all far too similar to actually play. So, look, Beale's kind of painted himself into this position now, and he's either got to put up or shut up. He's got to come out fighting. And like I said, we may find out today that he's gone. We may find out that that was a load of old rubbish, like a lot of sources are saying. But look, at the end of the day, Rangers need to improve. Rangers need to move forward. Rangers need to be practically point perfect between now and the next Old Firm game in December. They cannot afford to lose a single game. And including the Europa League in that, they need to be point perfect. Because if they're not, Michael Beale is going to come undergo even more pressure. You know, this club has standards. This club has, you know, a proud history of being a club that is at the very top of football, is the premier club in Scotland, is, you know, a team that competes in Europe. We can't have a situation whereby we are becoming a joke and we play boring football and we play long ball football and we scrape 1-0 wins and 2-1 wins and the football's dull as, and you know, which is what we're seeing at the moment. You know, even when we were victorious in games against Morton and Livy, we were shocking, absolutely shocking for parts of the game. So look, at the end of the day, we need to get back to that dominance. We need to get a style, a vision, a set of tactics. We need to know what our best 11 is, and we need to play our best 11 and not keep changing it all the time and leaving the players very, very uncertain. You know, you've got a situation where Danilo is a guy that we paid £6 million for, allegedly, depending on who you believe, and the guy never plays. Just hardly ever plays. They don't start him. Yes, he had those misses against Servette, which was a sitter. The miss against PSV, which I don't think we can call a sitter. And, you know, he kind of doesn't get a look in now. And why doesn't he get a look in? Well, because of Cyril Dessers. Well, is Dessers scoring goals right, left and centre? No, he's not. Is he creating them right, left and centre? He's creating the odd one, but not loads. So, you know, Kemar Roof is our best striker. So he's got to start. But other than that, you've got to ask, why is Danilo not getting a look in? You know, it's not that he's unfit. You know, he showed before the season that he is fit, that he has, you know, a goal scoring ability. He was banging him in for Feyenoord in pre-season, and he comes to Rangers and just goes backwards. You know, is that down to Beale and his coaching staff? You know, is it that he genuinely hasn't settled into life in Glasgow yet and life in Scottish football yet? What's the answer? And again, you know, it's the club. The silence is absolutely deafening. Again, from the club, transparency is not there. For me, Danilo's got to play. St Johnstone away, you start with Danilo and you start with Roof up front. You start with your two most potent goal threats. That's the way forward. You know, Dessers hasn't worked. He is not a centre forward who can play up front on his own. At the end of the day, you've got to pick your best two. Now, realistically, Kemar Roof is the best because he is the best finisher at the club. We've seen that on countless occasions, and he's proved it. Now, it comes down to the new signings, Lammers, Dessers, and Danilo. Okay, none of them have done it so far. But going off past track records over the last couple of seasons, Danilo has a better track record. Play Danilo. I don't understand why he's not been given an opportunity. How Michael Beale's took a player that was playing exceptionally well for Feyenoord and, you know, exceptionally well in pre-season for Feyenoord and turned him into someone with no confidence. It just beggars belief. In, you know, for me, it's just bizarre that he doesn't get a start. It really is utterly bizarre. You know, there's so many names linked with Rangers at the moment, isn't there? You know, I think that's why we need a bit of clarity of statement, a clarity of purpose, a clarity of what exactly is going on with the club, because there's so many names out there now. I think realistically, there's no truth in the John Eustace rumours because, you know, the guy's too inexperienced. I don't think he would be acceptable to Rangers fans. You know, Rangers need someone with a little bit more of a track record in management. He's still very much another up-and-coming manager, a manager beginning his managerial journey. And you're kind of just swapping one for another then. So you're landing yourself in pretty much the same position as we are now. You know, Graham Potter obviously has been linked now. Look, I know what people get thrown at us about about Graham Potter. The fact that he was a disaster at Chelsea. Well, look, at the end of the day, you tell me someone who hasn't been. It's a weird club, isn't it? It's a really strange club. Mauricio Pochettino's there at the moment. And he is struggling. He's struggling with the team. It's an absolute basket case of a club. So I think it's unfair on Graham Potter to assess him at his time at Chelsea. Look at his time at Brighton. He took them from a team that were battling against relegation and battling to stay up season in, season out, and turned them into European contenders in the toughest league in Europe, which I think, is pretty remarkable. And it's only just in recent times that Brighton have started to spend mega bucks, and that's because of the amount of money they got in for Moises Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, and so on. So, he's used to not working with a massive budget. Yes, Brighton's budget is bigger than ours because of the EPL money, but it's still not huge, and it certainly isn't the case of they're a money bags club. So look, at the end of the day, Graham Potter could well be a decent appointment. He plays good football. He has a set system. He has a set of tactics. He has a values. He has a style that he likes to play with. All the things we're kind of crying out for as fans, aren't we? And when we look at this Michael Beale Rangers team and how they actually play, it's just not good enough. Now, Graham Potter uses a 3-4-1-2 system, which got me thinking, how might that look if you were playing 3-4-1-2 with Rangers? For me, that would look like this, with Jack Butland in goal, a back three, John Souttar, Connor Goldson, and Leon Balogun. Look, I'd love Ben Davies to be a success, but I just think it's probably too far gone now. I think, at the end of the day, we should have signed a centre-back in the transfer window, but we didn't. A decision I think we could come to regret. Midfield, you have a four. You have two wing-backs with Tav and Borna Barisic, because realistically, actually, no Barisic, Yilmaz, sorry. I don't want Barisic ever to wear a Rangers shirt again after the debacle of Eindhoven and the Celtic game against Ibrox. Raskin and Jack in the middle. Todd Cantwell in that free role behind Danilo and Dessers. For me, that's the best way to line up. It gives you width. It takes away from the defensive deficiencies of Tav and Yilmaz. Yilmaz is probably the better defender of all the fullbacks, actually, when fit. It gives you three centre-backs to cover. It gives you flexibility. It gives Raskin the chance to have a bit more independence in the middle there. Sort of start to lead games and dominate games and take over games the same way as, as much as it pains me to say this, as Callum McGregor does for Celtic. Give Cantwell that free role and give Danilo and Roof the chance to play together and build up an understanding. For me, they are the best two strikers of the club. Use them. That's the best way forward, in my opinion. Like I said, Graham Potter is a man who favours that 3-4-1-2 system. Another manager who favours that 3-4-1-2 system is another name I saw linked in the press, but I think it's more just clickbait and press speculation that they're kind of jumping on the bandwagon with the whole Rangers need a manager when we don't kind of yet know whether we do or what is going on with it. That's Chris Wilder, the former Middlesbrough, Watford, Sheffield United boss. Now, Wilder is someone who in recent times has not had the best of records. This is his overall stats. He spent a bit of time at Watford last season. Less than 30% win stats. 40% at Middlesbrough, 46% at 0.7% at Sheffield United. I know he did okay with them in the Premier League, kept them up, and then obviously went down. Nowhere he's been has he been a manager that's kind of blown up the statistics and really showing himself up to be, a great manager. And for me, he's kind of struggled in recent times wherever he's been. Certainly not a name I would want to see at the helm of Rangers. I think it's just, personally, I think it's just more press speculation, which there will be, I think, until the situation with Michael Beale is cleared up. But absolutely do not want that man. Absolute disaster he would be of an appointment. Out of all the names that have been linked so far, Graham Potter is probably the best name that's been linked with the job. If there is to be a job with Rangers to come up, but look, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out hopefully today. Like I said, the silence has been deafening. It's time the board cleared that up, and hopefully that will come today, because certainly at the time of recording, it had not. Well, guys, two things I need you to do for me. Number one is smash that like, and number two is remember, we are the people.